Okay, I'm gonna get started here and bring our guest Andy on. Let me just make sure I'm doing this correctly. And I put Andy down in the corner. How mean is that? Okay, Andy, I'm bringing him back up to the top.
Nobody puts Andy in the corner.
Right there we go. Thank you. Somebody who can do the dirty dancing lines. Later we'll do Monty Python. We'll have a great time. Right. So I'm excited about today. I'm going to move fast because we got 28 minutes left. Somehow I used 2 minutes of it already. But as we go forward, Andy's here today to talk about GSA. I asked him to come in and just talk about GSA from a beginning level. We're going to have 3 days of training in a row. So if you're here live, today is the high level intro or overview of GSA, including tips for those of you who have GSA MAS contract vehicle, your prime holder on there. And then tomorrow we're going to talk about something called the contractor's teaming agreement. So CTA coming out of GSA and more about that. And then Thursday we're going to talk, and Andy's going to be here all 3 days. And on Thursday we're going to be talking about how we might be able to convince agencies to use our contract vehicles. It's in the interest of GSA. It's in the interest of you. And we all think it's in the interest of the buyer to use your contract vehicle. One last tip before we get rocking and rolling with Andy is I just wanted to remind you that you could go to govconinbox.com, and on there, you'll see your profile for free. And what we do is we built this tool that pulls the data from all the government sites in as a way for me to give you a federal visibility score. And I want you to go check yours out. But inside of there, one of the boxes we have is the contract vehicles you're on. Make sure that you look at your profile and we're communicating out the correct contract vehicles for you. And if we're missing it, just let us know. GovConinAbox.com is where you can find that. If you don't know who I am, my name is Neil McDonnell. I am the president of the GovCon Chamber of Commerce, co-founder of GovCon in a Box. And I want to welcome you to my federal sales training where we provide tips for success in the federal market. I spent 20 years in the federal market as a small business owner. And since 2018, I've been teaching people like you that government contracting is not a secret. It's just a process. If you follow a process A to Z, you're going to have repeatable, predictable results. That's why Andy is here today, is to give us some repeatable, predictable results within our GSA MAS schedule. And I really appreciate, Andy, that you're coming along. So let's just start off, Andy, with maybe as your kind of kickoff hello to us all is to just tell us, why are you what do you like about being in the GSA, right? You're a federal employee, not a commercial or civilian employee out in the world. And you're in GSA helping on the contract side and professional services. How'd you get into that? Why do you like that?
Well, first of all, GSA is an organization that does many things well. One of the things we don't do so well is thank people. And so the first thing I want to do is thank everyone on the line for supporting the GSA mission. Greatly appreciate it. So that is, hi, Tracy. And this is my role in the organization. Where it started, I worked for the Army as a civilian and was very much aligned with the mission of the Army as well. And so I was looking, as I moved into GSA, they moved where I was working in the Army down to Maryland. So I shifted over to GSA. And so my journey at GSA, I've been able to kind of work both sides of the equation. And so I started with as one was called or what they call a CSD, customer service director, which was working mostly with all of the agency partners. I shifted over to business development, working with small businesses like yourself and the good folks on the line. And so my job here now at the MAS, Professional Services and Human Capital, is to bring those two worlds together. And so the way that I term it is connecting dots. And so my gratification comes from putting or matching government agencies with these very, very important, absolutely mission essential needs with innovative and wildly effective and efficient small businesses such as yourself. So that's incredibly, it's an incredible amount of gratitude that I get to be a part of that process that ends up in something that is bigger than ourselves.
Yeah, no, I love that. When I was a government contractor, I used to tell people we don't build SharePoint solutions. We help the veterans get healthcare services, for example, at the VA.
Yeah.
And that's just a simple line someone had taught me a long, long time ago. It's like, think about the agent, that FBI agent or somebody who's all the way at the end of the stream. And that's what we're all doing. We're getting a human on the moon and safely back to Earth or something. So thank you, Andy, for that explanation and for being here. I'll watch the chat, and because often I don't even look at the chat until afterwards. And I come back and I'm like, hey, thanks. But for everybody else, make sure you engage in the chat. Let Andy know that who you are and that you're here, because he'll come back and look at the chat. If there's questions that we don't get to, we'll get to it. But Andy, what I would like to do is to in this fireside chat, I like to be a bunch of fourth graders on the schoolyard kind of thing.
Sure.
And talk a bunch of weird fourth graders talking about GSA, right, and government contracting. And so I like to keep it at that level because we have all sorts of varying experiences. I have 30 years of experience. You've got a lot of experience, but we got people who are brand new and don't even know what GSA is, let alone MAS.
Sure.
I don't need to go too far into GSA because they can go research the site and learn more.
Sure.
But just from a high level, what is GSA MAS? Starting with, what do those letters mean? And then we'll go from there.
Well, it's a multiple award schedule, so it really allows you to have a comprehensive solution, or be able to work a contract that will supply a comprehensive solution to the government agencies. And so we're organized by categories and subcategories. You did mention category management. It's one of those buzzwords that we're kind of wrestling with, quite honestly. But basically it means that it'd be easier for you to figure out which playground to play in, to keep our metaphor going. And so what it is designed to do is to make it as easy as possible for agencies to do business with small businesses. And so we are that guide. We are kind of the referee. We are primarily involved with making sure that regulations are being met, and that competition is, first of all, there, and second of all, robust, and as robust as possible. So my particular role within the MAS program is to help my small businesses, my industry partners, be as competitive as humanly possible, and try to get them in front of these agencies. As I kind of mentioned before, I've been on both sides of the coin here. When I was working with the agencies, they swore up and down, there's no small businesses that know our pain, and we're unique. And no, I said, that's weird. And I went over to the other side, and there's wonderful small businesses going, nobody will give us a chance. Nobody will give us a shot. So I'm trying to kind of be a matchmaker there.
I've been to the end or something, and I've seen the enemy, and the enemy is
exactly. Yes, absolutely.
So let me pull a thread on that. Right, it's this idea that if the GSA MAS, and just letting everybody know, multiple award schedule just means multiple people, multiple companies can be on it. Just going back to the very basics. But basically, the GSA contract vehicles are pre-negotiated price lists to the buyers, the federal buyers. And I'm assuming that's kind of basic way to say it. My question is, for all the different people, we have all these different businesses that are online right now. Can they all use a GSA contract vehicle? I don't use or be on it is the right way to say it. But, construction, manufacturing, IT, professional services, we all sell something different.
Right.
Is GSA MAS an option for pretty much every small business?
Pretty much for everything. Construction gets into the Bacon Davis Act, which
you just went up to PhD.
I'm sorry.
PhD.
IT, definitely. IT, and that's again. I really encourage you to go out and look up GSA .gov MAS, and it'll bring up all the subcategories that we have. Business administration's one, I know. Environmental services, there's about 10 different categories there. And so yeah, 99% of what's going on there is absolutely something that we can address, and that we can assist and facilitate actually is probably the best word. We can facilitate the procurement that way.
Yeah, Andy, I love that tip about going to GSA and checking out MAS there, because I just did a newsletter article this morning, and I think I said like a picture, and I said, what do you sell? And I took the MAS categories and put them up there, and I didn't put the rest of it in there, but I think there's what you just described as those MAS main categories. So he said IT, another one is like human capital. They have subcategories.
Mhm.
And when those of us who do business consulting tell you this, the riches are in the niches. Well, niching down is kind of going from these categories to the subcategories, and maybe even to the sin level there.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah.
Yeah. When just kind of pulling along this idea, if most of us, and by the way, if you're in construction, I'm assuming, let's just help those people for a second. Should they be looking at GSA? Should they be looking at these other type of contract vehicles that are done more at the agency level?
Yeah, they probably, yeah, some of the other vehicles that are out there. Again, it's not what we do. So I'm not educated enough to tell you exactly where to go. But that's
No,
that
that's awesome.
yeah,
Well, and I've seen those things like Talks or whatever they're called.
yeah,
Construction's not my world either. I've been
yeah.
teaching this a long time, and I tell people it's like, look, I can teach you sales tactics, but I
Right,
can't teach you construction. That's not my world. IT
sure,
is.
right.
Yeah. So if most of us probably want to be looking at that, what's your guidance for when we should be looking at it? If we, and it's funny, is it a time? Hey, I've been in business 2 years, or is it a milestone in my business? Is the more proper advice? What would you say?
I would say milestone. I've seen so many of these that I've been doing this for about 20 years, and so when when you are at that level of attracting a certain level of customer, that's when you really are, you should be looking out towards the GSA. I think there was a couple times where you've kind of mentioned in there too, if you're getting this level of business, that's when you've identified yourself as a player. I've seen too many folks within within my 12 years at GSA, 8 years with the Army, especially my 12 years at GSA. Folks jump the gun because they think, oh well, I've been in business for 5 years, then I should go in. The milestone really is, hey, there's an Army base that's near my place of business that I want to get involved with. It's going to be X, the market, or the pool is X amount of money. That's when it behooves you to go in to GSA, when you have a clear plan for a customer base. Of course, these things don't always work out,
Yeah,
but
yeah.
I've seen so many folks just jump the gun because they think, well, I'm doing okay, and so you're going to use GSA to be this kind of accelerator, when it really is incumbent upon you making sure that you have a tight business plan and a very effective business plan, and then add on GSA, and then that's when it can really pop you to that next level. GSA itself will not pop you up to that next level, but it will be able to assist you there if you can go out and make those connections.
So the getting on the GSA schedule is not a hack or a secret or a silver bullet or
No,
something,
sir.
right? It's like
No, sir.
it's
No,
just one more
sir.
step. I teach the same thing in
Yeah.
around the 8A. It's like don't
Yeah.
get on the 8A small business program too soon.
Right.
And I think fundamentally the advice is make sure you know how to sell to the buyer and make sure you actually have buyer relationships that you can then take your 8A or your GSA extra oomph back to them
Yeah.
and say, hey, this is where we are.
Absolutely. And there are levels that you have to hit in the first 5 years of your contract. And so, like you said, it's timing is everything. And make sure that you are budgeting in the time it's going to take to get the information, distribute the information. There's a lot of regulations and hoops that we have to jump through before we bless our
Yeah.
industry partners.
Now I got a customer who's going through the annual audit, whatever. I'm like, yeah,
Okay. Yeah.
it's my world. Hey, let me ask the audience a quick question. Just in the chat, let me know, are you on GSA MAS or are you not? Right. So say I'm on GSA, I'm not on GSA. And that's my version of a poll, since clearly whatever tool I'm using at the moment doesn't have a poll like Zoom does. But put that in. Let Andy know. Let me know. I'm curious about who's out there. Andy, I want to back up to just some really tactical steps, and you tell me how much you know and off the cuff and where you might redirect us for more information. But one example is, So let's say now's the right time for me to get on, to begin to look at GSA and explore it.
Great.
But what are some of the initial steps I need to go through, or what's like the typical roadmap for getting on GSA?
Thank you for mentioning the roadmap. That's
Oh, that's hilarious. I didn't mean to
that is exactly what we have on there. And so GSA.gov, new vendors, I believe is it is the area to go on there. It takes you all through. It takes you through the whole process. There's also a the vendor support center that's there as well, that can offer some guidance. A lot of great consultants out there, and that can take you through that. Again, that's a total professional choice, by you as well. We do offer free guidance and that, but it's you get what you pay for.
Are there
So
any like basic prereqs that you think I really like? I think one I remember when I was getting my GSA schedule is we had to have previous work or something been
yeah.
paid for before you let us on. Anything that comes to your mind on those?
Yeah, just the basic satisfaction ratings from having it's of course it's the chicken and the egg thing.
Yeah, right.
How do I get experience without any experience kind of thing. And so that's what we're going to talk about a little bit tomorrow. Is that teaming arrangements is a great way of getting involved there. And so if hopefully you've taken that step as well before you've decided to kind of jump in and do the GSA thing. If you haven't, I would highly suggest teaming. That gets you that gets you that record of performance that allows you to be considered a player, which will in turn lead to a much easier process getting on GSA. So they want to see that you've done this. They want to see that you've done this before for other government agencies.
Yeah, no, it's awesome in getting people to kind of go that path. I was doing some of my research before talking with Andy, and one of the things I noticed, if I read the data correctly, is there's like 14 or 15,000 small businesses on GSA MAS. And 14 or 15,000 sounds like a lot, except for the other number that I have is that there's 360,000 small businesses that are active in DSBS right now. So registered to sell to the government.
Okay.
And one of the things I want to encourage you to do out there is if you're not on GSA, create a path for you. It might be in 2025, it might even be 2026, but look at that path because GSA is one of those stamps of trust. Sort of like if you went in to go after an opportunity, you had a large prime with you. They're like, oh, if you got lucky, then we'll talk to you, kind of thing. And here, if you're on a GSA schedule, it begins to open some doors because the buyer feels like they can reach you. So I encourage you to do that. I'll give you one quick story and then come back to Andy on this. But I have a customer who just in the past month or two, and I actually am going to ask you a question about this, Andy, but they were contacted by a large department who is saying that there's not enough small businesses on a particular SIN. And a SIN, everybody is just basically a one of the different GSA MAS
special item number.
You can get on. Yeah. It's like a NAICS code basically.
Yes.
But so anyways, they said there's not enough. Get on there and we would love to throw you opportunities. And they only had 5 companies out of 360,000 that this buyer could go to. And they said if there was more there, we would feel more comfortable. And this goes to, I think, Andy's point there when he was saying that. So let me answer this question just about SINs really quick. Do you have any guidance for us on, like, if we have a contract vehicle, how can we add more SINs? Because it's kind of like getting another GSA to us.
Yeah, right. Well, hopefully not. But that anything that's directly involved with your contract, it has to go through that contracting officer, and your GSA POC. So any of the any mods, what they call modifications, to the contract. So there's SINs that are attached to your original contract, and then as you grow and as your business grows, and this is the real key part, and what I was going to suggest as well for anybody who's out there is to go to GSA eLibrary and look at the different categories there and look for companies who are your competition, who are competing in the same areas as you are. That's where you need to be. That's why I always use that playground analogy and metaphor. Analogy or metaphor? one of the two.
That's
And
where you need to be in order to see which sins you should be on. Is that why
yes,
you're suggesting? Okay.
absolutely,
See
absolutely.
what your competitors are already on. Okay, got it.
Yeah, because so many folks, when they one of the things that's frustrating is that so many of the folks that come in on GSA, they go to the big, there's a big business administration one, for instance, like it's 514 611, and so you're in, to your point, you're in with, oh boy, I don't know, 1,000
Yeah, yeah.
vendors. It's easy to get swallowed up. And so what you need to do is to be on the lookout, and that's why eLibrary is a great resource for you. There, go look and see where there are only five contractors, and then see if this is something that fits into your overall mission. So yeah, absolutely, folks. It's a good way of being found, basically.
Yeah, I love that tip because it reinforces something I say to people all the time. I think that if you're in the federal market, just be all in on the federal, forget the rest,
Yeah.
because the federal government is so transparent. People are like,
Has
oh,
to
it's
be. Yeah.
complex. My example is me trying to learn how to do a wheelie on a BMX bike to show my 10-year-olds is complex, and it's painful. It hurts my shins. But for government contracting, you've got things like GSA eLibrary, and they can just put that into Google and it comes up with I mean, I go there all the time, but that's all they're doing, and they're finding the schedules in there.
Yeah.
Okay, so let me ask you. We'll kind of just give you a 20. We got 7-minute warning here. I wanted to ask you a question. I'm going to hit you with the questions that we all wish we could ask
Cool.
GSA. So I have GSA, and I think, oh, I got it. I'm going to start winning contracts. In fact, my older brother, a decade or more ago, was telling me how pissed off he was before I was having success. He was like, "Oh, I got a GSA. That thing is, I don't win anything." I'm like, you do need to knock on a door.
Sure.
But one of the challenges that people have is, I think there's this threshold or something. You had alluded to it earlier about having to make sales. Is it once a year or once a certain period? Any tips on how people with GSA schedules can start finding some of the early wins? Not the $50 million opportunities coming
Right.
out, but maybe the $50,000 or $500,000 opportunity. Any tips on that?
Yeah, absolutely. The CTAs, again, which we're going to, a little preview for tomorrow. The teaming arrangements are great things. Getting to industry days, getting in front of people, is, especially now, since it's a little more rare than back in the olden days. But any opportunity that you can get to get in front physically get in front of people. The other piece that I always mention is getting aligned with the small business association that's attached to any of the bases that are near you, are always good things. Trying to align yourself with like-minded people who have a vested interest and benefit to your success. Especially while there's the OSDBU, Office of the Special, as a small business
No
utilization
one can say that when
group.
they're on.
Yeah, right.
It's always hard
I
for
can say
people to find
OSDBU.
it.
I always forget exactly what the acronym means. So that comes from being 20 years in government. But
Because there is no words. It's just Oz the Boo.
right, exactly,
Yeah, yeah.
exactly. So it's like you said, it's knocking on doors. I really wish, for everybody that's listening, I wish I had a special magic potion, or something to really guide you by. But it really is being prepared to be lucky,
Well, let
and
me pull a Greg.
and then being lucky.
Sorry, and just, we're friends. Let me
Oh
interrupt
yeah,
you.
absolutely,
The
yeah.
the a couple of things. First off, you said something earlier. I want to pull a thread on. I keep pulling a thread apparently, but on the for people who have GSA contract vehicles, in that top right hand side, there's some point of contact from GSA. Is that person supposed to be some sort of liaison, advocate, or
Yeah, absolutely. It should be your contracting officer, the one that you should be in, if not constant contact, at least regular contact, and making sure that that your contract is up to date, making sure that you're doing the things that you should be doing.
And
I'm sorry. Now
yeah.
that's my turn
Oh,
to cut
no.
you off. I apologize. And if
Yeah.
not, that's when you reach out to me. Is when you're not getting the stock line. I only have 4 minutes, so I have to throw my stock line in here, Neil.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
if you find yourself doing something that you are not being paid to do that is GSA related, that's when you reach out to me. Andrew.Kirkpatrick at GSA.gov.
Somebody can drop that. Watch
Right.
Cecilia drop it in a second. She's so
Uh,
fast.
cool.
So sticking with that person, if I just restate it,
Mhm.
when I have a contract with the Air Force, I'm in constant monthly talking with the contracting officer because we're doing work in there. We're having monthly reports or
Sure.
something, and that KO we're always tracking their CO. And on here, you're saying the GSA, we should be doing something like that, like quarterly
Yeah,
or whatever, touching base. So
absolutely.
yeah, make sure you guys, if you have a vehicle, establish that relationship before there's all these problems, et cetera. And they might even be able to help you because this goes back to Andy talking about being on a military base and the people who are around it sometimes hear about opportunities. And these contracting officers might be the same. Maybe I'll end with this one. And we got 3 days, which is great. But this question here, I know, and I don't know enough of this, and so I'm excited to hear the answer as well. But I know there's different people, right? There's Andy in
Mhm.
whatever role you're in. There's the contracting officer and
Mhm.
whatever they're doing, which we got a little better understanding.
Mhm.
But there's some other people in GSA who are like part of that kill chain of an opportunity, if you
Oh my
will.
goodness, yeah,
Can you
absolutely.
tell us about some of those different?
Absolutely. One of that's why I mentioned being a CSD before. Customer service director is one of them. We also have national account managers. Those work on the agency side, and so what I'm always trying to do as the mass PSHC guy is to establish ways or at least opportunities to meet with these agencies, and because of that first story that I told, that they don't know you're there and you don't think you exist and all those kind of things, and so getting in front of them is a huge thing.
What's the national account manager though? Is that
Mhm.
somebody I could expect a contract officer to introduce me to, or
No, that's
call Andy and
yeah,
Andy?
that's you call me, and I can get you those. It depends on they go by agency now. They used to go by
Sure.
region, which was a lot easier, but now they've decided to go in their infinite
Agency's
wisdom.
better for us. I want to get into the Army. Do you know?
Yeah, yeah.
Well, so people can take this
Ex
offline
Right,
asking you.
exactly.
Yeah, yeah,
I don't wanna waste our last minute on that. So, yeah, that's the easiest way. Again, GSA .gov is always a good source for there,
yeah.
and the vendor support center through GSA. So that's those are absolute. If you're on GSA, the vendor support center should be call number one, and that contracting officer call number two.
One of my stock lines is the government doesn't buy from the best; they buy from the best of those who show up.
Yeah,
These account managers can help us show up, perhaps. And this is what I want to leave everybody from what Andy is sharing is just like I teach there's 7 mentors out there like the SBA and PTAX, et cetera, almost inside a GSA, especially if you have a GSA mass vehicle, you have these people who are willing to help you. You have got to reach out to Andy and to others. And so, Andy, I know you're willing to talk with people. How do they get hold of you?
Andrew.Kirkpatrick at GSA.gov. I
And
think
I'm looking at it right in the chat. So
I think Cecilia put it on there. Yeah, absolutely. I think that's the best way to go. Then I can direct you. I might not have the answer, but I will have somebody who knows.
no, that's perfect. I appreciate you being here. I say all the time that government contracting is not a secret; it's just a process. Part of the
Mhm.
process is ending on time, and so we're going to do that. But come back tomorrow and
Yes.
see Andy talking again more about how to maximize your success with the GSA mass contract vehicle. And throw a thanks in the chat if you appreciated what he was sharing today.